Drawing frames are an important aspect of portraying designs in a two-dimensional format. They host and present the attribution required for project, client, and organisational information. They can also include data pertinent to the design, such as general notes and information, legends, schedules and lists, and so on. What we're going to demonstrate is some methods on how to create an intuitive and parametric drawing frame suitable for your organisational and/or project needs. Our example shows a typical A1 landscape drawing frame in a familiar style found in civil and structural engineering. The drawing frame has been created as a block and is hosted in the Layout tab area of an AutoCAD file. We can see that we've already identified the data we want to show inside of our drawing sheet, including project information at the top and drawing information below. If we enter the block editor, we're going to add our data attribution from the top down, starting with the project title. We're going to use the attribute definition to enable information hosting inside of our block. This attribute is going to be locked in position so that other users cannot consciously or accidentally move its origin. We're also going to enable our attribute to be multiple lines, as titles can be slightly longer than other attributes. As a default entry, we are going to include insert to prompt a user to input data into the attribute. By setting a boundary width, we can help ensure users don't create text entries which surpass the width of the drawing frame. We now need to locate the text to where we want it to appear in relation to our drawing frame. Once complete, if we close and save the block, we can perform an @sync in the command line, which will refresh the block's attributes inside of AutoCAD. As you can see, our project title attribute has appeared ready for use. To finish, I shall add an example data entry as proof of concept. For the stage attribute, we're going to create a custom drop-down list for users to pick from. By using drop-down lists, organisations are able to more easily police data entry and help enable consistency throughout a project. In order for us to create a drop-down list displayed in an attribute, we're going to need to create a dummy parameter dim. The reason for us doing this will become more apparent in a moment. To create our drop-down list, we need to include a lookup grip and then apply a lookup action parameter. When we add our lookup parameter, it opens the Property Lookup Table dialog box. Here, we're going to assign our dummy dimension and then begin to apply the data we want to see in our drop-down list. The input properties on the left can simply be sequential numbering, as we're not interested in this information. On the right, we have the lookup properties, which is what we want our attribute to display. Where it says unmatched, we're going to have select as the corresponding value to prompt the user to select an option from the drop-down list. When we're happy with our inputted values, we need to add an attribute to display the lookup table value. We can set up our attribute definition as per what we have done previously. The only difference this time is where it says default, we're going to add a field value. If we select block placeholder and then find our lookup table parameter from the list, in this case stage, this will enable the attribute to display the lookup table parameter value. Like before, we then need to locate our attribute in relation to where we want the data inside of our drawing frame. When we save and close the block, we can synchronize the block attributes. And there we have it, a block drop-down list inside of our drawing sheet. Please note that every time a field is amended, we need to perform a regen to update the value. For the directory and file name, we're going to add a multiple line attribute. To automatically insert the file path and name, we're going to insert a field. From the field names, if we select file name, ensure path and file name is selected and display file extension is ticked. We now need to place the directory and file name attribute to where we want it in relation to the drawing frame. If we then save and close the block, perform the @sync command, we'll see the file path followed by the file name automatically appears as a field in our drawing frame. For the classification attribute, we want to input a code relevant to classifying a drawing type deliverable. As this attribute is always pertinent to a drawing, we don't want it to be changed, yet we still want it to be an attribute as opposed to text, so that we can export the data if required. We do this by creating a standard attribute, only this time we need to ensure the constant selection is ticked. We can then input the default value we want the attribute to display. As per the other attributes, we then need to place it in a suitable location relative to the drawing frame. Once located, we can save, close, and sync the drawing frame block. With the stage attribute, we included a drop-down list. For the status description and status code, we're going to follow a similar process, only this time we control two attributes via a single lookup grip, in this case the status description. We need to firstly add our dummy dimension parameter to act as an object inside of our lookup table. As we are controlling two lookup values from a single grip, it is imperative that we only have a single dimension controlling both sets of drop-downs. Now that we have our dimension parameter, we can proceed with adding the lookup grip, parameter, and entering the required values, the same as how we approach the stage attribute. Once complete and we are happy with the values, we can include an attribute containing a field to represent the status description. For the status code, all we need to do is follow the same procedure referencing the same dummy dimension inside of the lookup table. The only difference is, when we add our lookup parameter, we want to set the grip value to 0, as we only want to control both sets of values from a single drop-down menu. Once we have saved, closed, and performed an @sync for the block, we can now see we can alter the status description and the corresponding status code will change to the correct value.